Leading groups produce leading stocks, and leading stocks produce leading groups. By looking at the ETFs, we can see where there is strength, potential areas to maybe buy, but also areas of weakness, areas to avoid. And both parts are very important. You have opposite sides of the same coin, but both parts make money for us. So here we go, keep us safe. So we're looking at cloud computing. This is sorted alphabetically. Cloud computing, you can see on the weekly, you got some tail bars here on increasing volume. You see this? On the daily, it's just kind of chopping around here. There's nothing really clean and simple. This is the question we should always ask ourselves. Would we see this pattern? If we saw this pattern in a book, would it say, oh, this is what you look for, or this is what you want to kind of steer clear of for right now? At this point in time, it's a little loose. Be cautious with it. Continue onwards. The diamonds ran up. Here's the weekly. It fell. But notice the daily volume. Look at the selling on the daily volume. That's distribution, okay? You got to be careful with that. Now, the trend is still up. The trend is still up, and that's fine. But recently, there's some distribution. Also note this. When it was hitting highs for the move, how was the volume? It wasn't that heavy. That's good to take note of. Next one. Dow Jones Internet. Chopping around here a little bit on the weekly. Distribution on this bar. Distribution on this bar. And it's just chopping around. There's not a really clean and simple entry here. You can say, oh, this is a green bar. This is another very important lesson. This is what we teach in Mission Winners. This is for everybody. And I taught this at the IBD meetups. Just because it's, in this instance, just because it's a green bar doesn't mean it's a good bar. Just because it's a red bar doesn't mean it's a bad bar. Green bar. But notice, it gapped up and closed near the lows on a slight pickup in volume. Indicates some selling, some distribution. Good to know. IBD 50 is lagging here. You can see it on the weekly, down on heavy volume, right? Up on less volume. And it's just falling here. It's below the 50-day. I taught this for years at the IBD meetup. And it sounds simple, but it works. The air is better above the rising 50-day moving average line. Now, the 50-day moving average line is still rising. Perhaps it'll bounce off of this, and we'll be ready. There we go. Dorsey Wright, First Trust Technology. Dorsey Wright was forming a nice base here, and you can see what it did. Ran up, but no, not a lot of volume, and then it fell. So a little choppy here. We have to be careful with that. Okay, let's continue onwards. China. China's choppy here. Look, it gaps up, gaps down. It's just loose. There's a little bit of strength in the weekly, but it needs to show some more power. Price gaps like this and this and this and this and this, these, you got to be careful with that. All right, just giving you a heads up on what's going on in the Chinese stocks right now. By the way, that's not a slam against China or anything like that. Just looking at the Chinese stocks, that's all. Gold is lagging. You can see it rallied up and it's falling. There's distribution here. What's the trend? This is a great tactic that I taught for years. Take a picture of the chart, tape it on the wall, go to the other side of the room and look at it. That'll tell you a lot about what's going on. There's just not a lot of power right there. Continue onwards. Gold, same situation, lagging, not a lot of power. Stay away from gold. Biotechnology, loose. It's in a downtrend. It's chopping around. There's not any real pressure. There's not any power. Leave it alone. Oh, another great lesson. Oh, it's a green bar. Oh, an increasing volume. Look where it closed. It closed in the bottom fifth of its range. There's no power there. Be cautious with that. That's a powerful lesson, by the way. Oil and gas is hanging in okay. Compared and contrast all these others, look at this. And do we own some energy stocks? Yes, we do. Why? Because it was telling us to. It was telling us to. That's simple. Continue onwards. By the way, I'm not saying buy at this moment because the market's a little sloppier, but the trend is up. Software technologies, just chopping around. There's not a lot of power here on the weekly or the daily. The trend is still up, but it's approaching the 50-day. Let's see if we can see some power. Till you see some power, leave it alone. Medicine, I think they need medicine. There's nothing good there. Look, it's below the 50-day. I'll say this again. The air is better above a rising 50-day moving average line. That'll help you a lot. Just narrow down your focus on what to do and what to avoid. Continue onwards. Mid-cap still hanging in. Look at this. iShares mid-cap. Support on the rising 20-day. Watch this. Compare and contrast. Below the 50-day. Approaching the 50-day. Well above the 50-day. Below the 50-day. And I'll do it again. Above the rising 50-day. Approaching the 50-day. well below the 50-day. What does that tell you? Be careful with medicine, folks. Mid-cap, basing. Just basing here. Maybe it's going to bounce off the 21 EMA. If it does, you'll be ready. What's that tell us? Mid-cap's not that bad. Aerospace and defense, it's basing, but boy, look at this whipping around here. This is not a clean and simple tight base. It's loose. Be cautious with that. Continue onwards. Home construction's hanging in. Look at this. Look at this trend here on the daily and the weekly. And we own home construction stocks from back here. And they're still working. They're trending. That's good to know. Home construction. S&P growth, that's hanging in. That's not too bad. All right. IBUY, that's not bad. What's it tell us? S&P 500 growth. Growth stocks aren't too bad. There we go. Small caps, it's hanging in. It's a little choppy. There's some selling going into the end of the week. Okay. It started to lift off, and then they gave it right back. It's a poster child for the market. So let's see if we can get a lift in it, okay? Small caps. Real estate. What does this say? Stay away from real estate stocks. Not home builders, real estate stocks. Look at this. It's lagging. Leave it alone. I mean, folks, literally, I'll say it again. In a couple of seconds, oh, I think I'll avoid that area. That's great. It's great to know what to look for to dig deeper on and areas to avoid. And emission winners, we're big on that, okay? Transportation's hanging in. That's not too bad. Look at the trend. Maybe looking at some transport stocks, trucking, and trucking's doing well. Airlines, gap down below the 50-day on Thursday, all right? Some distribution here on the weekly. Not a lot of power. Be cautious. Needs to lift off the 50-day. Regional banking's hanging in there. You see the compare and contrast? Oh, it's like, I'm going to stay away from airlines, but maybe I should look into some regional banks. That's good to know. That'll help. And you have to look at a million of them? No, just look at the ones that are within 20% of 52-week highs and a composite rating of 90 or higher. You do that, and you will dramatically improve your investing results. Mid-cap, support here on the 21 EMA, but note, gapped up and closed below where it opened on a pickup in volume. There's selling going on right now. Doesn't look too bad, but it needs to show some strength before we get interested. Oil services has been great. We're involved with oil services. Schlumberger's been a great rocket for us. It's trending. It's nice. And it has been trending. It's saying, hey, you might want to look at some energy stocks, oil service. And we have. Here we go. Pharmaceuticals, it's okay. A little choppy. It's supporting on the 21-day, but it's choppy. There's some red bars in here, folks. Look, you can see there's some selling, something to be cautious for. This is what I want to get to. Look at this. NASDAQ QLD gaps up, runs up, and closes near the lows on a pickup in volume. Look, closes near the lows on a pickup in volume. Goes up on less volume. Closes near the lows on a pickup in volume. Folks, it's telling you, be careful with the NASDAQ 100 stocks. That's power for us to know. Good. QQQ, same situation. Retailing's acting okay. Look at that. It gapped up and faded on Friday, but a lot of things did. But retailing, maybe looking at some retailing stocks, and it's been saying that. Silver, avoid. I mean, do a contrast. Oh, retailing, it's trending up, not too bad. Silver, stay away. Look at the difference. In 2 seconds, you know more than most people. I'm staying away from silver stocks. Continue onward. Steel's hanging in, okay, but we'd like to see some power. Have you noticed? There's a pressure in many different sectors. Tells us to be cautious. That's why I do this with the team. Semiconductors basing here, not too bad, but needs to show some power. Spiders falling. Look, this is great. Down on heavy volume, up on less volume, down on heavy volume. Right now, they're selling it. When's it going to stop? I don't know, but there's not much power here at this point in time. So just wait and watch and see how it goes. Let price and volume be your guide. Same with SSO as spiders. You can see the distribution. Look on Friday, the selling. There we go. Solar, flare out, leave it alone. I know you can say, boy, that was quick. No, it's just a fact. Stay away from solar stocks. And it's been saying stay away from me for a while. It's good to know. Small caps, hanging in. They're okay. A little bit of distribution recently, the last 4 or 5 days. Just be cautious with it. Uranium, this is a relatively narrow sector, but it doesn't look too bad. URA, you could punch up URA and find out what the top 5 holdings are. Maybe there's something there. Continue onwards. Oil. Oh, look at that. Didn't we look at another energy ETF? Yes, we did. Look at this one and look at what it's doing. That's why we are involved in energy. It's telling us to. Trends pay. Consumer discretionary, a little choppy here. all right? Trend is still up, but it's a little choppier, just like the market. Aerospace and defense, trend is up, but it's a little choppy like the market, all right? Biotechnology, stay away. That's it. Move on. That's powerful information. Home builders, look at this. Look at the weekly and look at the trend. Look at the daily and look at the trend, which is why we own at least 3 or 4 home building stocks. And we have for a while. Why? Because it's been telling us to. The ETF, but also the price and volume action of the stocks. Basic or materials, it's hanging in there. It's okay, all right? But note, there's some selling volume here coming into the end of the week. Look, so be cautious there. Communications hanging in, but again, some selling coming into the end of the week. A little choppier, be cautious. Energy, another energy. Look at that. Do you see the theme? We've seen a couple of energy ETFs acting good. We're involved with energy. It's told us to. This is the best part. Emission winners, we don't need to forecast. We let the price and volume action tell us what to do. That helps us. Financials are hanging in. That's not too bad. Look at the trend on the daily. Now, a little bit of selling on this bar and a little bit of selling on this bar. So you got to be careful with it. But overall, financials have been acting okay. That's good to know. Industrials, yeah, they're losing a little bit of power right now. Trend is still up. It just lost the 21 EMA on a pickup in volume. But again, it's losing a little power. Just be a little cautious. Technology's gotten weaker. Look, it fell below the 21-day on a pickup in volume, fell, and it fell through the 50-day on a pickup in volume. Be a little cautious with technology. And then we go consumer staples. There's no power there. In the consumer staples, there's really nothing good there. Stay away from it. Healthcare. I think they need vitamins. They need pills or something. Anyway, I'm just horsing around when I say that. But you can see there's not a lot of power there with healthcare. Be cautious with it. Consumer discretionary. This is a poster child for the market. Look, it's taken off in the morning. It gaps up and then closes near the lows on a pickup in volume. Folks, they sold into it. They didn't buy it. They sold into it. Okay? Tells you to be cautious. Metals and mining, trending a little bit, but a little sloppy. Oil. Another oil ETF. Energy, oil and gas. Gosh, that looks pretty good. I wonder, what's it been saying? Hey, you might want to take a look at some oil and gas and energy stocks. There you go. And I'll say this. If you focus on stocks, I'll be real specific here. Focus on stocks over $12 a share. Focus on stocks with an accumulation distribution of A or B. Focus on stocks that do more than 200,000 shares a day. Focus on stocks with a composite rating over 90. Focus on stocks that last quarter's earnings were up 30% or higher, or last quarter sales were up 30% or higher. What I just said there, I used to teach that at the IBD meetups. There's money in what I just said. Money. There you go. Narrow it down. We don't need to look at a million different things. Retail's hanging in. That's not too bad. A little choppy up tops here, but retail's shown some strength. Software was running okay, but it got a little sloppier recently too. Be a little cautious. Now let's get down to the max list. What do you say? Check this out. Apple has been a great run. We bought Apple back here, okay? And this is the weekly. And look at that trend. That was a massive trend for us. And we were selling into strength. You see this tail bar on the weekly? And you can see it got sloppy up here, some distribution, and we were selling into it, knowing what? That earnings were coming. And what do? Well, we managed it accordingly. And the last shares were sold for a good profit. And again, look at the base on the weekly. I'll draw this for you. This is important. This is why I look at both weekly and daily. You may not see it on the weekly or on the daily, but you can see it on the weekly. And you may not see it on the weekly, but you might see it on the daily. That's why I have the both of them side to side. By the way, it's probably still on here. Nope, it's not. But you can see it right here, folks. I'll draw it for you. Clean and simple. Focus on clean and simple bases that everybody can see. It'll really help you. There you go. Let's continue onwards. Amazon. Here's where we bought Amazon, and you can see the trend here, and it's just working, okay? Now, it gapped up, ran up, reversed down, and we sold some into strength here before earnings too, okay? So we're in great shape. We'll watch it and see what happens. Close near the lows, but again, we sold some. When you get a big gap up like this and it runs up and it starts to fade, that's a rule. Take some off. Lock in some profits. It'll help you. We're not here to own stocks. We're here to make money. It so happens that stocks is the vehicle that we use. Alibaba starts to lift up. and then goes higher on less volume, down on less volume, and then they take it down. It's a poster child for the market. It's just sloppy right now, but eventually it's going to turn and we'll be ready. Nothing really to do with it now. Continue onward. BIDU, bad earnings, by the way, 8.1, lifted up, 8.1. Earnings, boom, boom. A little choppy here. You got to be careful with it. There's nothing to do with it at this point in time. But know this, eventually it will work through a pattern, all these will, and lead to a great entry. When? Don't know. Continue onwards. Google. This is why we have the rules and tactics we do, and we talk about it at Mission Winners all the time. Don't argue with the markets. Look right here. Google. You can say, well, you know, I can see it ran up, but it fell here. It's kind of rough. Folks, right here, market's rough. Look what it does. It gaps up, it runs up, and looks where it closes on a pickup in volume. You just have to be careful with it. We're not involved with it. Here we go. Goldman Sachs looks like it might be forming. And again, this is, you can say, oh, this looks decent here, but then look at the weekly. This could be forming a cup with a handle on GS. That's something to take into consideration. But what does it need? It needs a good market. Okay. And again, I'm not being negative. I'm just reporting what is. Note here too, this is a poster child for the market. Look at this. Opens basically unchanged, runs up, closes near the lows of the day. It's met with selling. Let's continue onwards. Here we go. MasterCard, there's just nothing really good going on there. Okay. I mean, there's nothing happening. Move on. It's loose. Meta. See this entries on Meta? Good entries and trends pay. And we have ridden this for a ways. All right. I mean, folks, down in here. There we go. It works. Base here. So what do we do with it now? Well, we've sold some. We're lighter with it. And now we'll watch it and see what happens. Price will tell us what to do. But remember this, good entries and trends pay. They pay really well. Microsoft. See that base on Microsoft? It was great. Look at the volume. Did we buy it? Yeah, we did. And it runs up and we sell some into strength and then it starts to, open up and then start to drop and we sell more and then it drops down. And when it falls below the line, this is why at Mission Winners, we love clean and simple flat basis, folks. Price is good above the line and bad below. When it finally fell through this line right here, okay, we sold the rest. That's it, gone. So, oh, well, wait. No, all of a sudden, a little problem turns into a big problem. We're out of it for a very small loss on those remaining shares. But by selling some into strength, guaranteed profit. So we made money. That's it. Continue onwards. Netflix started to lift up here. Everything's great. But then what happens? By the way, we own Netflix down here. All right. I want to show you this. There you go. I made videos on this. I've talked about this a couple of times. Look at the company handle and look at the volume pickup. Boom. That's where the buy was. That's where the money was. Now look at it. It lifted up, but then earnings and then it drops. You just have to be careful. What's the moral of the story? Please be careful going into earnings. You sell some into strength and never argue with it. There's really nothing to do with it now. It's like a lot of stocks, okay? NVDA has been a huge run. I just share this with you. Our first buy in NVIDIA was back in here, okay? 150 to 450. There you go. That's it. You can say, really? Well, I won't go all the way back. It just is. So now what is it doing? Well, it's forming a downward sloping trend line right here on the daily. But note, it fell on fairly heavy volume on Thursday, right? There's some selling going on here. What does it need to do? It needs to show some real power, not just take out Friday's highs, but take out Thursday's highs with real volume and a good market. But note, there's distribution on this bar. There's distribution on this bar. Be careful. Be careful. A lot of people have this misnomer that, oh, yeah, we're professionals. Well, we're always doing something. You know what? Yeah, we're professionals and we're always doing something. You know what we're doing? Controlling risk. Let's continue onwards here. What do you say? Tesla. Tesla started to lift off, but the market was rough. Look at this. The day chart starts to bounce off the 50-day, but What's the market doing? The M emission winners, the market. It's a little sloppy. We didn't buy it. And it's good we didn't, because look what it does. It runs up, it gaps up, it runs up and reverses down. Here's the 10-minute chart. Look, here's the first bar of the day. Oh, this is it. This is it. Oh, let's go. Oh, it'll be all right. Oh, no, darn it. Now I got a loss. Oh, it's starting to wedge up. I think I'm okay. But look at the volume. There's no power. And then it does this. We weren't in it. We didn't buy it. There we go. And again, why? The M emission winners. The market's telling you to be cautious. Folks, I can't stress this enough. It's sloppy right now. It will change. Know this. Bull markets have not been outlawed. Okay? Know that. When's it going to turn? Nobody knows the future, but price and volume will tell us. And guess what? We'll be ready with a clear head and no baggage. Visa's kind of moving around here. It's a little choppy though. It's wide and loose. All right? Indicates high investor emotions. Just be careful with that.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.